Take a slow breath. Not because something is wrong, but because you deserve a moment of stillness. Life moves fast, and most of the time we keep moving with it without checking in with ourselves. This moment is different. This moment is about awareness, not urgency. Sometimes the past resurfaces in unexpected ways. A memory. A name. A feeling you thought you had already processed. When this happens, it doesn't mean you're weak or stuck. It means your mind is sorting through unfinished emotions, and that's a natural part of growth. There was a time when someone mattered deeply to you. A time when trust was given freely, when hope felt effortless. And when that connection broke, it left a mark. Not just emotional pain, but questions. Doubts. Silence. You carried those quietly. You didn't always have the words to explain what changed inside you back then. You just learned how to survive it. You learned how to keep going even when something important felt lost. That survival shaped you more than you realize. Now, as time has passed, you're not the same person. Your nervous system has learned calm. Your mind has learned boundaries. Your heart has learned discernment. That growth didn't come easily, it came from lived experience. When someone from the past appears again, the first thing that often shows up is emotion. Nostalgia. Curiosity. Unanswered questions. That doesn't mean you need to act on those feelings immediately. Feelings are information, not instructions. This is your reminder to slow down. You don't owe anyone instant access to your present self just because they were part of your past. Growth changes how we interpret situations. What once felt confusing now feels clearer. What once felt overwhelming now feels manageable. That is strength, not hardness, but clarity. You may notice your mind replaying old moments, searching for meaning. That's okay. Reflection is not regression. Reflection is integration. You're integrating who you were with who you are becoming. Pay attention to how your body reacts when you think about the past. Tightness means caution. Calm means clarity. Your body often knows before your thoughts do. This moment isn't asking you to reopen wounds. It's asking you to recognize how well you healed them. The scar doesn't mean pain anymore. It means resilience. You don't need to rush into conversations or decisions. Time is no longer your enemy. You've learned patience. You've learned that peace matters more than emotional intensity. There was a time when you would have chased answers. Now you understand that some answers only matter if they bring peace. Otherwise, silence is also an answer. Your worth is not determined by who returns or who stays away. Your worth is intrinsic. It existed before any relationship and continues regardless of outcomes. You are allowed to protect what you've built inside yourself. You worked hard for this stability. You don't owe it to anyone to risk that without clarity and respect. This moment is not about fate. It's about choice. You choose how close someone gets. You choose how much access they have. You choose whether something belongs in your present or stays in your past. Take another breath. Notice how grounded you are now. This is not the end of a story or the beginning of one. This is a pause, a powerful one. A pause that lets you respond instead of react. Stay here. Stay aware. Stay kind to yourself. And when you're ready, continue listening. As you stay with this stillness, you begin to understand something important. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. Healing means remembering without being pulled back into pain. It means being able to look at the past with clarity instead of confusion. You once gave your trust honestly. That was not a mistake. Trust given in good faith is never wasted. Even when it is broken, it teaches discernment. It teaches boundaries. It teaches self-respect. Those lessons now live inside you. You may notice that your emotions feel more balanced than they used to. Where there was once intensity, there is now awareness. Where there was once urgency, there is now choice. This is not emotional numbness. This is emotional maturity. When the thought of someone returning crosses your mind, notice what arises first. Is it peace, or is it tension? Is it curiosity, or is it heaviness? These signals matter. They are information guiding you toward what is healthy for you now. You are no longer driven by the need to be understood by everyone. You understand yourself more clearly, and that clarity has softened you while also making you stronger. You don't need to explain your boundaries. You live them. You've learned that closure doesn't always come from another person. Sometimes it comes from self-acceptance. From acknowledging what you went through and honoring how you survived it. That kind of closure is internal and permanent. There was a time when uncertainty made you anxious. Now, uncertainty feels more neutral. You know that whatever happens, you will adapt. This confidence was built quietly, through experience, not through word. You understand that relationships are mirrors. They reflect parts of us we may not have seen before. Some reflect wounds. Others reflect growth. You now choose mirrors that show you strength and respect. If someone from your past reaches out again, you don't have to respond immediately. Space gives clarity. Silence gives perspective. Time reveals intention. You are allowed to take all three. You no longer confuse intensity with depth. You understand that calm connection is often healthier than dramatic attachment. This understanding protects your peace. You've also learned to forgive yourself. As this understanding settles deeper, you begin to notice how your inner dialogue has changed. The voice that once questioned your worth has softened. In its place is a steadier voice, one that asks better questions and offers kinder answers. This is not accidental. This is the result of time, reflection, and self-respect growing quietly. You start to recognize the difference between missing a person and missing a version of yourself. Often, what we long for is not the relationship itself, but the innocence, hope, or simplicity we felt during that time. Understanding this distinction brings clarity and prevents confusion. You realize that emotional triggers are not commands. When a memory stirs something inside you, it doesn't mean you must act. It means something is asking to be acknowledged. Awareness creates space between feeling and response, and in that space, wisdom lives. You become more curious than judgmental about your reactions. Instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" you ask, "What is this trying to show me?" This shift transforms self-criticism into self-understanding. You also see how far your emotional regulation has come. Where once you felt overwhelmed, you now feel capable. You can hold multiple truths at once, compassion for the past and commitment to your present. This balance is strength. You understand that reconnecting does not equal reattaching. Communication does not require surrendering boundaries. You are allowed to listen without absorbing, to speak without over-explaining, to pause without guilt. You become more aware of patterns, what energizes you and what drains you. This awareness guides your choices gently but firmly. You choose what supports your well-being, even when it's uncomfortable at first. You notice that your sense of identity feels clearer. You are not defined by who loved you or who left. You are defined by your values, your effort, and your integrity. This realization stabilizes you from the inside out. You begin to trust your pacing. You no longer rush emotional processes to reach a conclusion. You allow understanding to unfold naturally. This patience prevents impulsive decisions and honors your growth. You see that growth doesn't erase tenderness. You can still care deeply while protecting yourself. You can still be open while being discerning. These qualities can coexist. You become more intentional with your attention. You place it where it nourishes you, into routines that ground you, conversations that feel honest, and goals that reflect who you are becoming. You recognize that peace is a signal. When something aligns with your values, your body relaxes. When it doesn't, tension appears. You learn to trust these signals without needing external validation. You stop romanticizing struggle. You no longer believe that pain is required for connection to be meaningful. You choose relationships and experiences that are supportive, respectful, and steady. You also understand that endings don't negate what was real. They simply mark completion. You can appreciate what existed without reopening what has closed. You stand more firmly in the present. You honor the past for what it taught you and release it from deciding your future. This balance gives you freedom. You are not avoiding emotion. You are integrating it. You are not closing your heart. You are protecting it with wisdom. Stay here with this clarity. Stay gentle with your process. Stay grounded in who you are now. As you continue to sit with this awareness, you begin to notice how your expectations have shifted. You no longer expect others to fill spaces within you that you've learned to hold yourself. This doesn't make you distant, it makes you whole. You approach connection from fullness, not from need. You understand now that clarity is a form of kindness. Being clear with yourself prevents confusion later. It saves energy. It protects peace. You no longer ignore early signals just to keep a story alive. You honor truth when it shows up. You notice how much calmer your decision-making feels. You don't rush toward emotional highs or flee from discomfort. You allow things to reveal themselves over time. This patience gives situations room to show their true nature. You also become more compassionate toward your past self. You see how you did the best you could with the awareness you had then. You stop rewriting history with harsh judgment. Instead, you acknowledge growth with respect. You realize that emotional safety matters more than familiarity. Just because something feels known doesn't mean it's healthy. You now choose environments, conversations, and relationships that feel steady rather than unpredictable. You begin to value consistency over intensity. Steady effort. Clear communication. Mutual respect. These qualities create trust without draining you. You no longer confuse emotional turbulence with passion. You also understand that not every reconnection needs a resolution. Some encounters simply remind you of how much you've changed. That reminder alone can be enough. You feel more grounded in your daily life. Simple routines bring comfort. Focused work brings satisfaction. Quiet moments bring clarity. You're not waiting for something dramatic to validate your progress. You notice that your sense of self is less reactive. Other people's actions don't shake you the way they once did. You observe more. You personalize less. This emotional steadiness is a sign of maturity. You allow space between stimulus and response. In that space, you choose integrity. You choose calm. You choose what aligns with your long-term well-being rather than short-term relief. You begin to see boundaries not as walls, but as filters. They don't block connection, they ensure quality. You feel more at ease protecting what matters to you. You trust that meaningful connections don't require you to shrink or overextend. They meet you where you are. This As this steadiness becomes familiar, you begin to sense a deeper confidence forming beneath the surface. Not the kind that needs to be seen or proven, but the kind that quietly holds you upright no matter what unfolds around you. You realize you no longer abandon yourself to keep peace with others. You understand that real peace begins inside, and any connection that disrupts that peace requires careful consideration. This awareness keeps you aligned. You notice how your emotional resilience has strengthened. When uncertainty appears, you don't immediately seek reassurance. You sit with it. You listen. You allow clarity to arrive in its own time. This patience is a sign of trust in yourself. You become more aware of how your energy flows. You protect it thoughtfully. You invest it where effort is mutual and respect is consistent. This choice preserves your well-being and deepens your sense of self-worth. You understand now that you don't need to revisit every memory to heal it. Some lessons have already been learned. Some doors have already closed for good reasons. Wisdom knows when to reflect and when to release. You also begin to appreciate the strength it took to let go when you did. Even if it didn't feel strong at the time, it was. Walking away from what hurts requires courage, especially when hope is still present. You feel more comfortable trusting your intuition. You no longer dismiss subtle signals. You've seen how often they were right. This trust guides you calmly and clearly. You recognize that growth doesn't mean you'll never feel pulled backward. It means you won't stay there. You may glance at the past, but you live in the present. You stop needing certainty to move forward. You accept that clarity often comes after action, not before. This acceptance allows progress without anxiety. You notice how grounded your emotions feel now. They rise and fall without taking control. You allow yourself to feel without losing direction. This balance gives you stability. You also understand that your journey is uniquely yours. You stop comparing timelines. You respect your own pace. You know that meaningful growth cannot be rushed. You continue to show up for yourself in small, consistent ways. These choices accumulate. They build confidence. They reinforce identity. You feel more aligned with your values. Your actions reflect what matters to you now, not what once did. This alignment brings a quiet sense of fulfillment. You are no longer waiting for permission to move forward. You give it to yourself. This self-authorization is freeing. You remain open to connection, but grounded in self-respect. You welcome what aligns and release what doesn't without bitterness. You are becoming someone who moves through life with awareness, patience, and calm strength. Stay grounded in this presence. Stay committed to your growth. Stay gentle with yourself. As you settle further into this way of being, you begin to notice how differently you respond to life's uncertainties. What once felt threatening now feels informative. You listen instead of react. You observe instead of assume. This shift gives you power without force. You recognize that your sense of self no longer depends on external validation. Praise doesn't inflate you, and silence doesn't diminish you. You're anchored internally, and that anchoring keeps you steady through changing circumstances. You become more intentional with your words. You speak when it adds clarity, and you stay quiet when silence protects peace. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself to be understood. Those aligned with you will understand in time. You notice that your focus has sharpened. Distractions lose their grip because your priorities are clearer. You invest your attention in what nourishes growth, learning, health, meaningful work, and relationships built on respect. You also begin to see how emotional honesty with yourself has created freedom. You don't suppress feelings, and you don't let them run the show. You acknowledge them, learn from them, and move forward with awareness. You understand that revisiting the past is only useful when it informs the present. Otherwise, you release it without guilt. You trust that you've already taken what you needed from those experiences. You become more comfortable with not knowing everything at once. You allow answers to unfold gradually. This openness reduces pressure and increases adaptability. You recognize that boundaries can be flexible without being fragile. You adjust them thoughtfully as circumstances change, always checking in with your values. This flexibility keeps you responsive, not rigid. As this calm becomes more natural to you, you begin to notice how deeply you trust yourself now. Not in a loud or dramatic way, but in a quiet certainty that whatever comes, you will handle it with awareness and care. This trust changes how you move through the world. You stop scanning for signs of danger everywhere. You understand that caution is useful, but constant fear is not. You relax your shoulders. You breathe more deeply. Your nervous system learns that it is safe to be present. You notice that you are less attached to outcomes. You still care, but you don't cling. You give your best effort and allow life to respond in its own way. This balance brings peace and keeps disappointment from overwhelming you. You become more accepting of complexity. You understand that people can be both meaningful and flawed, both caring and limited. This realism protects you from idealizing others or devaluing yourself. You also recognize that your capacity for compassion has expanded. You feel empathy without absorbing pain that isn't yours. You can care without sacrificing your boundaries. This is emotional intelligence at work. You begin to appreciate how much energy you once spent trying to fix, convince, or rescue situations that were never yours to manage. Releasing that responsibility frees you to focus on what you can truly influence: your choices, your reactions, your